Well, another great crowd on hand here tonight for the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show. We're live at the Beach House Grill in Old Town Fort Collins. And, boy, great to see a lot of familiar faces out there. Steve and Ann Tynan, who are here each and every show. And Patty and Reno Caesar own the Egg and I know longtime friends of the Fairchilds.
There's a bunch of people here. We got some loyal people and loyal fans, and you know, this is really cool. This is really a cool setting.
Tim O'Hara sighting here tonight, so you know it's a party. Steve, BYU, what do you make of them? They got off to the slow start, and now they've won 3 of 4, and their quarterback Heaps looks like he's getting more comfortable.
I think there's some similarities to their season and ours. You know, they started a true freshman quarterback. You know, they've struggled a little bit early. But you can see them getting better every week, and like you say, they've won 3 out of 4, and they're starting to hit their stride a little bit. BYU's always been a tremendous football program. They've always, you know, got talent. They've got talented coaches, and you know, Bronco's done a great job since he's been there. So we'll have our hands full, but this is a great opportunity because I really think we're starting to come on, and they are too. And this will be a good football game out there at Hughes Saturday.
I wanted to ask you about some of the dynamics of that coaching staff over there at BYU. 5 games into the season, Bronco fired his defensive coordinator. And you don't necessarily have to comment on that specifically, but I imagine that's, A, not an easy decision, and B, it seems to me like kind of a maybe a panic mode type of decision. Have you seen much of that in your time?
Well, I think, number one, anytime you've got to make a change with your staff, that's a hard thing to do, and then if you deem as the head football coach that you've got to do it in the middle of the season, that's even harder, I'm sure. But you know, Bronco, that's, you know, he runs the program, he's there. It's hard from the outside in to know exactly what's going on and what, like you said, what the dynamics are. But you know, he's going to do what's best for his program, and you know, you just know when you get into this profession, things like that happen, and you just move on.
Yeah. Well, this is I guess an uneducated comment because I've never been a college football coach or an assistant coach. I imagine there had to be something underlying there rather than just what took place in the first 5 games.
And another thing I'll tell you, I've been in jobs where, you know, you're just not the right fit. And I've been in other jobs where you're a really good fit. And you know, sometimes you just got to accept what it is and move on. And that's just part of coaching.
Bronco's obviously been a lifelong defensive coach. He fired the defensive coordinator. He takes over the defense. They have shown improvement since. What have you seen?
Well, I think they've got a little bit different personnel in there. You know, they've simplified in terms of their packages, in terms of, you know, they're not doing as many things personnel package-wise on the defense side of the ball. And they're probably playing a little harder. You know, sometimes, you know, say what you want. Sometimes just when things aren't going right, a little change, whether it's for good or bad, just a change sometimes can get things jump-started. And they look like they're playing with a little more enthusiasm. And certainly this last stretch, they're playing better defense. There's no question about that.
You know, I'm curious. You saw Rocky Long's defense last week at San Diego State. Bronco and Rocky have a history. How similar is the BYU defense to San Diego State, if at all?
Not really. You know, when Rocky and Bronco were together, they were doing what Rocky did, and that's very unique, like we've talked about. Bronco's got his own style of defense, and you know, as do Kyle Whittingham and Gary Patterson and all that crew. But you know, this is not San Diego State's defense. It's BYU's scheme, and we'll prepare accordingly.
Yeah. Now, Bronco Mendenhall has done a nice job there in Provo, 53-20 as the head coach of the Cougars as he goes into his 6th year here in 2010. All right, we're going to give the coach, Steve Fairchild, a break here. When we come back, we'll be joined by senior Zach Palja, the fullbacks having an outstanding season. That's next from Elegant Sports and the Colorado State Sports Network. Well, we continue tonight, the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show at the Beach House Grill, Old Town Fort Collins. Brian Roth back with you. Steve's going to take a break, and we're going to bring in our student athlete. I guess we'll call you the student athlete of the week, Zach Palja, the fullback from Green Mountain High School in Lakewood, a Colorado boy. All right. For the past 4 years we've been doing the games, we have called you 15 different names. Say your last name. I remember you had a group of reporters last year around you trying to explain how you say your last name, and finally you just said, listen, whatever. Say whatever you want. Say it for us on the air here.
The correct way to say it is Paunga.
Paunga.
Yeah.
Is that close?
Close. It's like an NG sound in there.
Okay. Paunga. But there's no G there, though, is there?
There's no G in it, but that's the sound it makes.
Say it one more time.
Paunga.
All right. I'm going to have to go back and listen to it recorded because I only have 2 more games left to call your games. I got to get – we call you Pauga.
That's fine.
You're having an outstanding season. A 4-year starter. You started with Coach Lubick 4 years ago. You've been the starting fullback under Steve. Reflect on your career a little bit.
I mean, there's not really much to say. I've got a great opportunity here at Colorado State to play in a lot of games, play some great players, block for some good guys, and I've just been grateful for all of it.
It goes fast, doesn't it?
Definitely. Everyone you meet that has played football tells you that it goes fast, and you never believe them when you're young. And then now I'm sitting here saying it went fast.
Yeah, you're telling the freshmen that, hey, take it in because it goes fast, and they're thinking the same thing you thought 4 years ago.
Yeah, definitely.
What is going to go through your mind on Saturday when you're walking out of that tunnel right before kickoff for the final time?
You know, I don't know. It really hasn't hit me yet. I just hope that I can hold it together. I don't embarrass myself out there, cry on TV or something. But I'm just so happy to have been here for 4 years and just going to lay it all on the line on Saturday.
Zach Paunga, is that all right?
Yeah.
Our fullback at CSU joining us here on the Steve Fairchild Coaches Show. You've had an outstanding season. Last year, 25 catches. This year, you have 27. I mean, all of a sudden, the last 2 years, you have been one of the go-to guys out of the backfield. Have you always been comfortable catching the football?
Actually, it's a funny story. I really haven't been. I came in here as a defensive player. It took me a long time to get comfortable catching the ball, and now I'm just starting to be able to do it whenever I need to and make plays.
Yeah, your stock has really started to rise. Coach Fairchild has mentioned that there's more interest from professional scouts. Do you want to go on and play pro football? Is that something you're going to take a stab at?
Definitely. That's my dream, to play in the NFL, and I just hope I get a chance to keep playing.
Yeah, I swear, guys will come up full speed and hit you right after you catch a ball, and they just bounce off you. What are you doing?
I mean, they
just bounce off you, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, my high school coach called it Superman syndrome. You believe that no single guy on the field can tackle you, and that's just how I try and play.
It's a mindset then.
Yeah, definitely.
Talk about the season as a whole. Off to a tough start. You're breaking in a lot of young guys around you. How have you seen this team grow?
I mean, that's definitely the word for it. We've grown, and I'm excited to see what this team does in further years because we have so many true freshmen, sophomores playing, and right now they've started to hit their stride, and I wish we had 6 or 7 more games left in this season to see what they could really do. Yeah,
I know a bowl is out of the picture at this point, but you get a final crack at BYU before they go off and do their own thing. Then you get Wyoming. I know without the bowl in the picture, some people look at it and say, well, there's not a lot to play for, but there is a lot to play for, isn't there?
Definitely. There's a ton to play for. This is going to be probably BYU's last game at Hughes, just like it's my last game at Hughes, and I want to make sure that they leave with a loss. And Wyoming, we need to bring the boot back to Fort Collins, and this is where it belongs, so that's a big game too.
Yeah, that'd be a great way to finish out your career with the boot up in Laramie, bringing it back down to Fort Collins, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Hey, Zach, thank you so much. Appreciate it. You've had a great season. Continued luck over the next 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Okay. Zach Paunga, the fullback from Green Mountain High School in Lakewood, the senior, will play his final game at Hughes Stadium coming up on Saturday. More to come after this. Todd Stroud, the tight end and fullbacks coach, will join us next from Nelligan Sports and the Colorado State Sports Network. Well, a couple more segments left here in the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show, live to Beach House Grill, Old Town, Fort Collins. Joined by assistant coach Todd Stroud, coaches the tight ends and the fullbacks. Todd, thanks for joining us. The newest member to the coaching staff. How has the first year been here at Colorado State? I guess you're the rookie, huh?
Well, it's been phenomenal so far because the weather's been real good. I came from Florida, so we kind of turned the cold weather off here up until today.
That's right.
So we've done very well.
Yeah, the weather has been great. You brought the Florida weather with you. But,
There you go.
we're going to get a little bit of a cooler game coming up on Saturday. They're talking about temperatures in the 40s. But you have coached Zach all season long. Tell us what you see on an everyday basis, because he's had a great season.
Well, you know what? And when Coach hired me, he explained to me the situation at both tight end and fullback. And we've been, as a coach, I've been very blessed to have Zach on our football team right now to go through my first trip coaching offense. I've been a defensive coach for 24 years, and having an opportunity to coach offense and having a kid like Zach in the program and what he brings to the table. Not so much from a football standpoint. We all know that he's a good football player, but more importantly, the intangibles, his character, his heart, his leadership abilities, all those things he brings to the table are set a great example for our young players.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. And also, I didn't know his name was Pauna. I thought it was Palja.
Yeah, I know. I'm still confused. I still don't know what to call him coming up on Saturday. You have another great senior at that tight end position in Eric Pites.
Absolutely, and you know him and Zach are extremely close, and they've been friends for a long time, and both gone through this process together. But they're both the same guy. They both are great leaders. They're extremely intelligent, and they're very good football players. And again, their biggest asset, other than both being extremely productive, has been to help train our younger players.
Yeah.
You know, this is the way we do things. This is the way we act. This is the way we practice. It's been a great environment at our position this season.
One thing that Steve has talked about this year is trying to develop depth at fullback and at tight end, because Zach's not going to be here next year, nor is Eric. Who are some of the younger kids coming up in the program?
Well, you know what? We got a bunch of them, and we've early on in camp we had several that got banged up, unfortunately. You know, at tight end right now you have Matt Weems and you have Ben Tedford, you have Kevon Cartwright. You have Cameron Moss. You have four very talented, capable kids that have lined up and putting themselves in position without really any of them stretching out and coming out front yet. So the spring will be very productive for all four of those guys. And then coming back at fullback, you unfortunately had Jake Levin, who was a walk-on in our program that actually got some playing time here during the midseason, but tore his ACL. He more than likely will not be back for the spring, but will be ready to compete in the summer. Chris Gibson, a converted linebacker, came over, and Joe Brown, a kid that was very productive last spring, came over, that we've kind of shifted to slot receiver, tight end, played a little wide receiver for us this season. He's back at fullback right now, giving us some depth. So we have some talent, but there's going to be a lot of pick and choose and a lot of healthy competition this spring as we go forward, but a lot of talent.
You know, you look at football and the way it's evolving at the college level, and fullback has kind of been a lost position almost. You guys use it a lot here at Colorado State. When you go out and look for guys, is that something you sell when you're looking for fullbacks to come into the program?
Well, absolutely. And you look at Coach Fair's offense, which is a pro-style offense, and up in the NFL, the two-back offenses are becoming vogue again. And so in terms of recruiting, and what you do in recruiting now is you try to project and look at different position groups, linebackers, big defenders, guys that don't really fit any particular mold. A lot of times fit that Y or that fullback mold that come in there. They're very athletic. They're involved in the run game, the pass game, and pass protection. So they got to kind of be a hybrid guy that gets involved in all three facets of an offensive game plan.
Yeah, you had mentioned that you coached defense for 24 years. Now you're coaching offense, and I know football is football to football coaches. Has that been an adjustment at all for you?
It has. It has, and it's been a lot of fun, really. It's been a good learning experience, getting a chance to be around Coach Fairchild and all the offensive coaches who have coached awful lot of good players on the offensive side of the ball and been around the block a few times, and it's been fun to sit on the other side of the ball and listen to their wisdom more so than anything else.
Final thought. You look at these last two games, and again, the Bulls out of the picture, but I think the big picture of this program is still in play on these last two games. To finish out with a couple of wins, I know would give you guys a ton of momentum heading into spring football.
Oh, it's huge, and I think the thing that stands out here among everything else is the character that this team has shown over the course of a football season. And you go through a football season sometimes, and you're sitting there right now, and you're 3-7 right now, and you think, oh boy, oh woe is me. If you have an opportunity to see how our team prepares and their attitude every week, they're going to get a couple more wins here before this thing closes out, and that will help us going into recruiting and then going into spring practice. There's no question. But the character and the attitude of our entire program, players, coaches, everyone is upbeat and moving forward.
Yep. Todd, thanks so much for joining us. Best of luck on Saturday.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Todd Stroud, assistant coach. Coaches the tight ends and the fullbacks here at CSU. One more segment after this from Nelligan Sports and the Colorado State Sports Network. All right, final time here tonight from the Beach House Grill, Old Town, Fort Collins. For the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show, another great audience on hand here tonight. Crowds have been great all season long. You have one more chance to come out and be a part of this next Wednesday night, 6:30 to 7:30 will be our final show of the year. Brian Roth back with you and the coach, Steve Fairchild. Well, we just had Zach Palja and Todd Stroud up here. Talk a little bit about these two. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Well, Zach's special. You know, he's just one of those guys that you're fortunate to have on a football team because he's humble. You know, it's not about him, and that's the nature of playing fullback. It's not about him. He's gonna run block for somebody else. He's gonna pass block for somebody else, and you know, but he's shown some great skills, and as we've gotten to know him over the last few years, we're starting to hand him the ball a little bit and throw him the ball because he's a very, very talented young man, and I think he's got a future in the NFL. I know the scouts have really started to come around and look at him. I'm very fortunate to have Todd on our staff. You know, Todd's background, he's coached at Florida State and Auburn, and been a head football coach, and anytime you can have somebody on your staff that has that type of background, it's a good deal. And the other thing Todd does, and you could tell in his conversation with you, he heads up our recruiting, and he's got an eye for, talent and how to move people around, and that's a big asset for our football program.
Steve, I wanted to get your thoughts. Just yesterday, the University of Colorado fired Dan Hawkins, and I know you and Dan had a good relationship. Yeah,
I was very, very sad to hear the news, and Dan, forget about coaching. Dan's a tremendous person. Good husband, good dad, and all those things, and you just hate to see bad things happen to somebody like that. And I still know this: Dan Hawkins is a hell of a football coach. Sometimes when and I said this when I got hired here. This is bigger than me. I need a lot of help. I need everybody in Ram Nation pulling and doing the right thing. And unfortunately, when it doesn't go the way you want it, they look to one guy. They look to Dan Hawkins, and I still think he's a tremendous football coach.
Yeah. Some final thoughts on BYU. It's the Cougar defense. It's beat up just a little bit, but they are good against the pass. They've given up a few rushing yards. How do you attack them?
Well, we want to be balanced, but the thing with BYU, they're coming in, they're hitting their stride a little bit. And they put up 55 points the other day, and they've won 3 out of 4. So they're starting to play good football. I think we're starting to play good football, and I think this has the makings of a really good football game out at Hughes. I hope everybody turns out and checks it out, because this is going to be a good football game.
Yep, then it'd be a great day to send out some seniors as well. We get a crowd out there for that.
No question.
So, Steve, thank you so much. Appreciate it. For the coach, Steve Fairchild, and Charlie Grimes, who's back at Master Control tonight, Bob Greenfield has been on hand, and he has supervised everything from here. I'm Brian Roth saying thanks for listening to the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show on the Colorado State Sports Network.